I did not scream when I saw my husband with those children. I did not throw my phone. I did not run after him. I did not even honk my horn. I just sat in my car outside a children's clinic in Charleston and watched my husband of 10 years carry 2 toddlers to a black SUV. One little voice called him Daddy. Then the other one did too. And in that quiet moment, while my hand stayed still on the wheel, something inside me went cold and clear. He did not know it yet, but our marriage was already over. My name is Quinn Lawson. I am 38 years old, and I have spent almost 18 years in the United States Army. People think I do not hear them when they call me hard to read. But I do hear them. I just never take it as an insult. In my world, staying calm is not a cute little habit. It is how you live through bad things. It is how you make it to the next hour. Loud pain gets attention. Quiet pain gets work done. I learned that a long time ago. The people who break down in public are not always the ones who survive. So I do not fall apart where everyone can see me. I fall apart in private. Behind closed doors. In parked cars. In dark rooms where no one asks questions. Then I stand back up and do what needs to be done. That is exactly what I did when I saw my husband with those children. My husband's name was Daniel Lawson. We met before I ever wore the uniform for real. I was 24, fresh out of training, proud, stubborn, and always ready to argue. He was warm, easygoing, and slow in a way that made other people feel safe. He used to joke that he fell for me because I was the only woman who had ever beaten him in a fight about barbecue sauce and made him laugh while doing it. I fell for him because silence never felt lonely around him. It felt peaceful. That is rarer than people think. We got married when I was 28. 10 years ago. 10 years of army orders, goodbye hugs, airport reunions, and trying to build a normal life around a very not normal job. Daniel learned to sleep with the television on when I was away because the silence made the house feel too empty. I learned how to come home from hard places and remember how to be gentle again. We made it work. Or at least I thought we did. We never had children. That sentence is simple, but the truth under it was not. 4 rounds of IVF. 2 miscarriages. 2 tiny losses that sat in my chest like stones. Then one doctor at Fort Bragg looked at us with tired eyes and said the word unlikely in a voice so flat it felt final. I cried in the parking lot that day. I cried so hard I could not breathe right. Daniel did not cry. He just held my hand and told me, "You are the only family I need, Quinn." That is not second best. That is the truth. I built the rest of my marriage around those words. I believed him the way people believe the ground will hold. Not because they test it every day, but because it has never failed them before. When he said I was enough, I trusted him fully. I did not think he was comforting me. I thought he was telling me the deepest truth of his heart. That is why what came later did not just hurt. It broke the shape of my whole life. My own family had always been harder for me. I have one sister, Brooke. She is 2 years older than me. If you had asked me when we were kids which one of us our parents loved more, I would have told you the truth without anger. Brooke. She was the pretty one, the charming one, the one who always had someone ready to save her. If she made a mess, people rushed in with towels. If I made a mess, people asked why I had not been more careful. Brooke went through a divorce in her late 20s. It was not some huge scandal. Just a marriage that ended because it should not have happened in the first place. After that, she moved through life like someone always waiting for rescue. She needed help with a car repair. Help with rent. Help with a security deposit. Help until next month. Then help until the month after that. And I gave it. Not because I was stupid. Because she was my sister. I sent money when I could. I helped my parents with property taxes twice. I paid for repairs to Brooke's apartment after a pipe burst and her landlord refused to help. Army life meant I was gone a lot. Texas. Germany. The Pentagon. More field training than I care to count. When you are the responsible one from far away, money becomes the easiest way to love people. You cannot show up, so you pay. You cannot fix it with your hands, so you fix it with your account. And I trusted Brooke. Not blindly, but deeply. Right after Daniel, she was the person I thought would never truly betray me. Blood is blood, I used to say. She is difficult, but she is mine. I want to be fair here. Before all this, I did not see Brooke as some evil woman in a movie. She was needy, yes. Selfish sometimes, yes. Tiring, absolutely. But she was still my sister, and I loved her in that old, simple way that grows before you even know who you are. That is why, when my friend Tessa called me one Tuesday afternoon in March, I did not understand what she was trying to tell me. Her voice sounded strange. Careful. Quinn, she said, I do not know how to say this, so I am just going to say it. I saw Daniel today. He was at the Palmetto Women's Health Building. And Brooke was with him. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it made no sense. That cannot be a big deal, I told her. Maybe he was giving her a ride. You know how Brooke is. She always needs something. Tessa did not laugh with me. Quinn, she said again, slower this time, he was carrying diaper bags. 2 of them. I told her she had to be mistaken. I told her Daniel hated driving Brooke anywhere because she always complained about his music. I told her she had probably seen somebody else. Then I got off the phone still half smiling, already trying to forget the whole thing. Small-town gossip is like dust. It lands on everything, whether it belongs there or not. But that night, I lay in bed next to Daniel while the television muttered softly in the dark. He slept like he always did, one arm loose at his side, face calm, breathing easy. I stared at the ceiling and could not stop thinking about what Tessa had said. Not because I believed her. I kept telling myself I did not. I just could not make the thought leave me alone. I wish I could say I confronted him right then. I did not. The army teaches you many things. One of them is this: if you act before you understand the ground under your feet, you lose. You do not send people into a building you have not mapped. You do not move because of fear. You move because of facts. So instead of asking my husband one emotional question, I did something that probably says everything about who I am. I took 4 days of personal leave. I told Daniel I was helping another officer move her mother into assisted living in Savannah. He kissed my forehead and said that sounded kind. Then I left the house, got in my car, and started watching. Quietly. Carefully. Patiently. I did not hire anyone. I did not need to. I knew how to track patterns. I knew how to stay still long enough for the truth to come walking out on its own. The first thing I found was strange, but small. Brooke was not living in the apartment off Route 17 where I thought she was. She had moved 8 months earlier into a newer building near Mount Pleasant. It had a gate. A fountain in the middle courtyard. Clean balconies. Fresh paint. The kind of place that cost more each month than what Daniel and I paid on our mortgage. I sat in my car across the street that first evening and told myself there had to be some reason. Maybe a new job. Maybe a boyfriend. Maybe something I did not know. Anything but what the cold little part of me had already started to whisper. On the second day, Daniel's truck pulled into that gated lot at 6:40 in the evening. Right on time. The same time he usually came home from work. Except he was not coming home. He parked, got out, walked straight to Brooke's building, and let himself in with a key. His own key. Then he stayed inside for almost 3 hours. 3 hours. I sat there with both hands in my lap and felt the first crack open inside me. On the 3rd day, I saw the children. A little boy and a little girl. Around 2 years old. Twins, or close enough to make no difference. Daniel carried the boy on one hip like it was the most natural thing in the world. The child wrapped a tiny arm around his neck without fear. The girl walked beside Brooke, then stopped on the courtyard steps when her shoe came loose. Daniel bent down, tied it, and the little girl held both sides of his face while he did it. He laughed at something she said. A full, easy laugh. Not forced. Not guilty. Familiar. I have sat in vehicles while people shot at them. I have held myself together through things I will never fully explain. I did not know pain could still surprise me. I was wrong. I stayed in that car long after they went back inside. I remember noticing stupid little details because my mind needed something to do. My hands were steady. My breathing was not. The sun was going down. A woman in a red coat walked past with groceries. Somewhere a dog barked. And inside me, a whole life was starting to tilt. Still, I did not go to the door. I needed proof. Not suspicion. Not tears. Not a scene. Proof. So I kept going. It took me 11 more days to build the full picture. I found the children's birth records through a legal records request connected to a family insurance policy. Daniel had forgotten I still had access. Father, Daniel Lawson. Mother, Brooke Mercer. The twins had been born just under 2 years earlier at the same hospital where I had lost my second pregnancy 14 months before that. I found hospital billing records with Daniel listed as the emergency contact and financial guarantor for Brooke's delivery. I found the lease for the Mount Pleasant apartment. Daniel's name was on it as the responsible party. Dated 4 years earlier. 4 years. That meant this did not start with a pregnancy. It started long before that. The children were not the beginning. They were the result. I sat in my car outside a coffee shop in North Charleston with those papers spread across the passenger seat. Birth records. Billing records. Lease papers. Dates. Names. Signatures. My husband. My sister. 2 children. 4 years. All of it right there, flat and black and white and impossible to argue with. And still, I did not scream. I did not call him. I did not call my mother. I just sat there for almost 2 hours and let the truth rearrange everything I thought I knew. When I finally started the car, I had already made the choice, even if I was not ready to say it out loud yet. I was not going to fight for this marriage. I was not going to beg. I was not going to let him explain this into something smaller. I was going to end it. Clean. Legal. Quiet. On my terms. The next morning, I called a divorce lawyer named Rachel Hale. Another officer had once given me her name after a rough split. Rachel's voice on the phone was calm and brisk. "When can you come in?" she asked. "Whenever you have time," I said. "I am not in a rush. But I am done waiting." Her office was on the 2nd floor of an old house near the historic district. Brick walls. Clean desk. No nonsense. When I sat down, she did not ask me if I was okay. She asked what I had documented. I respected her for that right away. I was not there for comfort. I was there for a plan. "Before we file," she said, "we protect what is yours." Quietly. No warning shots. People make the mistake of announcing divorce before they secure anything. Then they spend years trying to get back what they should have locked down on day one. So that is what I did. For the next 3 weeks, I moved through my own marriage like I was gathering facts inside enemy lines. I opened a separate bank account and redirected my army pay. I copied every joint statement I could find. Bank accounts. Credit cards. Mortgage papers. A home equity line I did not even know Daniel had opened. I saved emails. I saved screenshots. I went through an old tablet he almost never used and found message threads still logged in. What I found was not just an affair. It was a whole second life. The Mount Pleasant apartment cost almost $2,000 a month. Every month. For 4 years. There was a newer SUV in Brooke's name, but Daniel had paid for it through one of our accounts. He had covered her school program too. Not because he believed in her future, I think, but because he needed her comfortable. Dependent. Quiet. Close. There were medical bills. Childcare bills. Grocery charges. Insurance payments. A full secret family. And so much of it had been paid for with money I had earned while sleeping on hard ground, standing holiday duty, missing birthdays, and telling myself the sacrifice was building something real for us. Then there was Brooke. 11 months earlier, she had called me crying because she was between paychecks and embarrassed to ask. I wired her $400 that same night. At that very moment, she had been living in a gated apartment with a fountain, raising my husband's children, and taking my money anyway. I still do not know what was worse. The lie. Or the nerve. The part that disturbed me most was this: Daniel never changed at home. He still made coffee the same way every morning. He still asked about my day. He still slept beside me with the television humming low. He was not acting like a guilty man trapped by his choices. He was acting like a man who had simply built 2 lives and learned how to walk between them. 1 step here. 1 step there. No shaking. No panic. No guilt I could see. That detail haunted me more than the money did. Rachel filed the divorce papers on a Monday. We used simple language. Irreconcilable differences. No affair in the first filing. No children. No details. Nothing for Daniel to twist into some dramatic story before the facts came out. I did not want noise. I wanted certainty. That same week, I moved the most important things I owned into a small furnished unit on base. The Army keeps places like that ready for emergencies. I do not think they pictured this kind. I packed 1 suitcase, took what mattered most, and left the rest of our shared life exactly where it was. Then I placed the divorce papers in the middle of our kitchen table and set a single house key on top. Before I left, I stood in the doorway and looked back. That kitchen had held 10 years of dinners, lazy Sundays, and quiet talks. It was where Daniel had once held me after my second miscarriage and told me I was all the family he needed. I expected rage. I expected to shake. Instead, I felt something almost peaceful. Like a breath I had been holding for years had finally gone out of me. I drove away without looking in the mirror. Daniel came home that night to an empty house and a stack of papers where dinner should have been. My phone started ringing at 7:14. I know the exact time because I was sitting alone in the little base housing unit, staring at a blank wall and trying not to think. I let it ring. He called again. And again. Then came the texts. Quinn, what is this? Please call me. Is this some kind of joke? Where are you? Whatever you think you know, it is not what you think. That one almost made me laugh. I answered none of it. I knew him too well. If I gave him one phone call, he would find a way to bend words until the truth lost its shape. Silence was the only thing he could not talk his way around. But I had not planned for his mother. The next morning, Evelyn Lawson called me. I almost did not answer. Evelyn had always been warm with me, a little too involved sometimes, but kind. The kind of mother-in-law who remembered what food I hated and still packed me leftovers anyway. Her voice was shaking. Quinn, she said, I need to see you today. Please. We met at a diner off Highway 17. A place neither of us had ever gone before. Neutral ground. She was already there when I arrived, gripping a coffee cup so hard her knuckles were white. She looked like she had aged years in one night. She took the divorce papers from her purse and laid them on the table. Quinn, she said, I need you to be honest with me. Did you know about the children? About Brooke? Did Daniel ever tell you? I stared at her. No, I said. I found out 3 weeks ago. On my own. He never told me anything. The color drained from her face. She leaned back like the air had been knocked out of her. He never told you, she whispered. Told me what? When she answered, my whole understanding of the last 4 years changed again. Daniel told the whole family that you knew, she said. Years ago. He said that after the miscarriages and everything you two went through, you and he had made a choice together. He said you asked Brooke to carry children for you because you could not. He said it was your idea. He said you wanted privacy, so no one was ever supposed to mention it unless you did first. For a second, the diner noise went far away. I heard the plates. The silverware. The waitress laughing at another table. But it all sounded like it was coming through water. He told you, I said slowly, that I asked my sister to have his children? Evelyn nodded, tears in her eyes. He told all of us. His aunts. His cousins. Me. Everyone. We thought we were protecting you. We thought we were respecting your pain. God, Quinn, we had no idea. I sat there and suddenly understood every strange glance at holidays. Every soft pause in conversation. Every careful silence I had never known how to read. They had all believed a lie built out of the worst grief of my life. Evelyn reached across the table and took my hand. You were betrayed by your husband, she said, voice breaking. And my family helped protect his secret without knowing it. I am so sorry. Whatever you need from me now, you have it. Records. Testimony. Anything. I did not cry there. But I came close. Because now I understood something even darker than cheating. Daniel had not just hidden an affair. He had built a whole cover story around my infertility. He had used my pain like a shield. He had turned his own family into quiet guards around his secret. That was not a mistake. That was design. That was planning. And once I saw the full design, I knew exactly how to tear it down. I did not go after him in anger. Anger is loud. And loud women get dismissed. So Rachel and I chose something better. A meeting. She arranged what she called a settlement conference. Daniel came with his lawyer. Brooke came too. At Evelyn's insistence, both sets of parents were there. My mother and father sat stiff on one side of the room, still shocked from the phone call where I had finally told them the truth. My mother had cried so hard she could barely talk. My father had gone into that deep silence men like him use when they do not know how to hold shame and grief at the same time. Brooke walked in wearing a blazer and a calm face like she had practiced both in a mirror. She still did not understand what was coming. Rachel laid the facts out one by one. No drama. No raised voice. The lease. The vehicle registration. The school payments. The hospital bills naming Daniel as guarantor. The bank withdrawals. The dates. For years of hidden money turned into a neat stack of evidence no one could explain away. Brooke tried first. This is not what it looks like, she said quickly. I love him. I have loved him for years. It was never about money, Quinn. Never. It does not matter what it was about, I said. That was the first thing I had said directly to her since this began. It matters what it cost. It cost me 4 years of a marriage I thought was real. It cost me money I earned. And while you were taking all of that, you still called me and asked to borrow more. She flinched. I thought that would feel good. It did not. It only made me tired. Daniel tried next. Of course he did. He used that calm, reasonable voice he always used when he wanted to sound like the smartest person in the room. Quinn, I know this looks terrible, but you have to understand the situation. You were gone all the time. The army took you away for months. I was lonely. Brooke was there. Things happened that I never planned. Stop, Rachel said before I even opened my mouth. You did not accidentally build a second household for 4 years. You funded it. You hid it. And you told your entire family a story to keep your wife from finding out. That is not loneliness, Mr. Lawson. That is planning. Daniel's face changed then. Not into guilt. Into math. He looked like a man counting exits. Then Rachel played the recording. It came from an old shared family phone left charging in a drawer at Evelyn's house. Nobody remembered it still held old voicemails. Brooke's voice filled the room, casual and light. She's deployed again anyway. She won't be back for weeks. Honestly, her whole life is that job. She'll probably never even notice. The room went dead still. My mother made a sound like someone had punched the air out of her. Brooke went white. That is out of context, she said, but her voice shook. I looked at her. What context, I asked quietly, makes that sentence better? She had no answer. No one did. And in that moment, I did not feel victory. I felt grief. Low and cold and heavy. I had spent my whole life being dependable. Showing up. Helping. Carrying more than I had to. Somewhere along the way, my own sister had turned that into permission. Permission to use me. Permission to erase me. Permission to believe my pain did not count if I was not there to speak it out loud. My father finally spoke. His voice sounded rough, older than I had ever heard it. Brooke, he said, how could you do this to your own sister? She stared at the table. For the first time in her life, Brooke had run out of words. The weeks after that moved like a controlled collapse. No one dramatic moment. Just everything false breaking, piece by piece. Rachel finalized the property settlement, and because the records were so clear, Daniel's lawyer did not fight much. There was no good defense for numbers. The house had to be sold. The accounts were split, but I received more once the court saw how much had been secretly used to support Brooke and the children without my knowledge. Daniel lost money. But money was not the worst part for him. It was reputation. Word moves fast in military circles. It moves even faster in families. Men I had served with stopped using his name unless they had to. His construction firm quietly pulled him away from client-facing work after enough people heard what had happened and decided they did not trust the man behind the handshake. Brooke had even less to hide behind. My parents, who had spent years rescuing her from every consequence, could not do it this time. My mother told me one night on the phone, through tears, that she felt like she was grieving a daughter she had never really known. Not because Brooke was gone. Because the version of her my mother had protected all those years had never been real. And Evelyn? Evelyn became something I never expected. Family. She called every week. Sometimes just to talk. Sometimes to apologize again for things that were never hers to carry. Sometimes to remind me that what happened to me did not change who I was. You were always the daughter I wanted, she told me once over coffee at that same diner. Not because you were perfect. Because I always knew where your heart was. Meanwhile, Daniel and Brooke started turning on each other. From a distance, it was almost darkly sad to watch. Once the secret was no longer exciting, once the hiding stopped being romantic, they were left with real life. 2 small children. Legal bills. Co-parenting. Blame. Brooke started telling people Daniel had pushed the relationship in the early years, that she was hurt from her divorce and he took advantage of that. Daniel told people Brooke had chased him for years and he had only been weak. Maybe both stories had pieces of truth in them. Maybe neither one mattered anymore. That is the thing about people who lie for years. After a while, they need new lies just to survive themselves. I stayed out of it. I had said what I needed to say. Justice did not need my help anymore. So I turned my energy somewhere smaller and quieter. Back toward myself. I moved into a little house near base. Nothing fancy. Just mine. I started running again in the mornings. I reconnected with friends I had drifted away from. I let my days belong to me instead of to grief. About 4 months after the divorce was final, my new orders came through. Promotion board recommendation. Transfer to a training command job I had wanted for a long time. It felt like someone opening a door right when I had finally stopped staring at the one that had closed. A year passed. Then another kind of answer came. I made lieutenant colonel that spring. The promotion had nothing to do with Daniel. Nothing to do with Brooke. It came from years of work, discipline, and showing up. But the timing still mattered to me. It reminded me that my life had never truly depended on my marriage. I had only believed it did. The ceremony was held on a warm morning. Folding chairs on wet grass. The flag hanging still in the soft air. I stood there while the new rank was read and pinned onto my shoulders. And for one strange second, I thought about how 10 years earlier I could never have imagined standing there without Daniel in the crowd. He was not in the crowd. Evelyn was. She had driven 3 hours to be there. Blue dress. Proud eyes. When the ceremony ended, she found me before almost anyone else and pulled me into a hug so honest and full that it almost took my breath. You earned every part of this, she said into my shoulder. Not because of what happened to you. Because of who you have always been. I know, I told her. And for the first time, I fully meant it. Then I saw Daniel near the edge of the reception tent. I had not expected him. He looked thinner. Older. Tired in a way that had settled deep into his face. I had heard enough through people who still passed news along that I knew life had not gone gently for him. The custody fight with Brooke had turned ugly. His job had changed. Money had become tighter. Regret, if he felt it, had not fixed anything. He walked toward me slowly. Quinn, he said, congratulations, Lieutenant Colonel. That is, really something. Thank you, I said. He stood there for a second, like he was trying to build a bridge with words and could not find the first board. I know I do not have the right to say this, he said at last, but I am sorry. For all of it. For the lying. For how long it went on. For letting you find out that way instead of telling you the truth years ago, no matter what it cost me. I think about it more than you probably believe. I looked at him and waited. And to my own surprise, I realized the sharp anger was gone. What was left was calmer than anger. Final. I already forgave you, Daniel, I said. A while ago. Holding on to it was not helping me. I had a life I wanted to get back to. He looked almost shocked. Then I added the part he needed to hear most. But forgiveness does not mean you get your life back. It just means I am not carrying yours anymore. That part belongs to you. He had nothing to say after that. So I shook his hand. Once. The way you close a chapter. Then I turned and walked back toward Evelyn, back toward the people who had come to honor who I truly was, not who they had been told I was. I did not look back. I did not need to. For a long time, I thought love meant sacrifice. I thought being devoted meant giving more, asking less, and trusting without limits. I know better now. Love without honesty is not love. It is absence dressed up in warm clothes. It is a lie that learns how to smile. The day I signed those divorce papers was not the day my life ended. It was the day my real life finally began. If this story stayed with you, tell me where it touched your heart. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you thought you knew? Have you ever had to rebuild yourself after betrayal? Share your thoughts in the comments, and tell me where you are watching from tonight. Here on Twisted Family Revenge Storied, we share powerful family betrayal stories every day, stories about lies, secrets, revenge, and the quiet strength it takes to start over. If this story meant something to you, subscribe so you do not miss the next one.